Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Dais, a podcast about the stories taking place in and around El Paso County, Colorado. I'm your host, Scott Anderson, and today I am joined by Marshall Bosworth, the Division Director of El Paso County Veteran Services. How are you doing today, Marshall?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for making the time to be here today. I really appreciate it. Before we get started, though, I want to quickly add that if listeners are interested in more stories about people doing good in and around El Paso County, or hearing from county leadership about local government priorities and how they operate, you can find additional episodes of this podcast on your podcast platform of choice. But to get started today, Marshall, I was wondering if you could share some background about yourself and how you ended up here with El Paso County.
Yes, Scott, thanks. I joined the military back in 1986 after, I'm like every other young person. I went through high school, struggled knowing what do I want to do with my life and things like that. I tried just working, and so I just decided, to get a good start in life, I think I'm going to join the military. And, if I do 4 years, get some college money, then I can move on with my life. But who would have known? I spent 25 years in the Army as a combat medic. So, I enjoyed my time. I did a couple deployments to Iraq, led a lot of soldiers going over there, and after 25 years, I decided that I think it's enough. It's time to move on. So I was very fortunate. Right out of my retirement from the military, I was able to get hired by El Paso County. I started as an administrative technician for the Veteran Service Office, and over the past 12 and a half years, I've worked my way up into being the director of the office. So it's been a great ride.
That's great. And so what are some of the things that you learned as a combat medic in the military that have really helped you with your role here with El Paso County?
I think a lot of that is just as you are a medic, you're learning how to take care of others and not always just looking after yourself, sometimes maybe even to a fault, but taking care of others, making sure they have the things that they need, and then you become a leader in the military, and it's a lot of the same. It's just not on the medical aspect. You're taking care of your priorities and your mission, but you're also taking care of the people that work for you. Learning that everybody isn't the same. Everybody has a different personality and a background, and knowing that about people and being able to lead those people to success is probably the biggest thing that I learned in the military.
That's great. And so let's talk a little bit more about the Veteran Services team itself. What is the main mission of your organization?
Well, our main mission is to help veterans and their family members file for benefits with the VA. And what we're primarily focused on in our office is the disability or the compensation benefits. So what we're doing 90% of the time is just filing disability claims for the veterans that have transitioned out or are transitioning out. So we actually do claims for service members that are still in the military and transitioning out into the civilian world. And then some of the veterans that we file claims for have been out as long as since Korea or Vietnam or the Gulf War. So we're able to help anybody that served and has the proper discharges to get benefits. We want to take a look at whatever they have and see if they're eligible for benefits. And
that's great. And then I'm really interested in the partnerships that you guys create, and not just with other organizations. Well, that is certainly interesting and something I hope you'll talk about a little bit, but also the individual connections that you make with those that come in through your doors. Can you talk to me about those connections and why they're so valuable in the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Partnerships are a very important piece of, I think, any business or anything that you're doing, and that holds true in the veteran community as well. And we have great partnerships with Homefront Military Network. We work with Rocky Mountain Human Services, Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center, as well as all of the aspects of the Veterans Administration, meaning the Veterans Health Administration, Veterans Benefits Administration, and the National Cemetery Administration. So those are important people that we work with. We also work very closely with the Colorado Division of Veteran Affairs, which is our state Veteran Service Office. So all of those partnerships are key to us helping the veterans and their family members in our community. We work with them every day. But however, within those large partnerships, you have to have those internal partnerships. So I have great relationships with the director of the Colorado Division of Veteran Affairs and Kate Hatton from Homefront Military Network, Bob McLaughlin from Mount Carmel, and Bruce Cowan, who's the new director at the state. I also have great relationships with the director of the National Cemetery, the director of the regional office up in Denver. Without those partnerships and being able to communicate directly with those folks, it's a lot harder to accomplish the mission that we're trying to accomplish, which is helping the veterans get their benefits, as it would be if you're just out there like they currently are. I mean, the veterans are just out there looking at these big systems and saying, what do I do?
Yeah.
I don't know how to maneuver through the VA's laws and regulations and things like that. So, that's what we're there to help them with, and the partnerships that we create inside those large organizations is what enables us to be successful in helping those veterans.
So you mentioned how I would imagine it's quite overwhelming as someone who's trying to approach those systems by themselves, like you were mentioning for veterans. What do you guys do to help alleviate that pressure, to help them out? Like when they walk through the door and are seeking help from you guys, talk to me about what that process looks like for them and on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I'm just going to speak from my own experiences, which is why, kind of going back to your first question of why I'm passionate about what we do, is when I transitioned from the military after 25 years, and you're going through all of the briefings and the mandatory stuff you have to go to get out of the military, most of the time you're just checking the blocks. And so we understand that in our office, and that was one of my focuses even back when I was the administrative technician, of how we can always do better for the service members that are transitioning out. And so what we want to do first is have you contact us. And we're a lot of times we're just going to take your name and your information from our admin folks, and we're going to give that to a veteran service officer. So what makes us a little bit different than some other organizations in the community is that we're accredited service officers. So we actually go through a lot of training with the VA, with our state office, with our national organization, the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers. So we maintain those accreditations every year. We get up-to-date training every year. And so what that allows us to do is when we call you back, we're going to be able to hopefully answer your questions on the phone. We're going to schedule an appointment so we can get you started in the process. So if that process is, hey, this is my first time claim and I don't know what to do, we're going to walk you through that process so every step you understand and how it works. We're going to help you to understand that as a veteran, this is your claim, and it's actually just as much your responsibility as ours to make this successful. And we're going to explain to you how to do that. And we're going to be right there by your side through the whole process. And if you're somebody who has filed claims, we have veterans that come in and they file claims for 20 years, but they've never had somebody assist them. And we'll take that, we'll take their representation, we'll be able to see their VA file once we do that, and then we can go back and review that whole file and figure out where the shortcomings were, whether it was on the veteran side, the medical evidence side, or the VA side, which is probably more likely. So we just want to take every situation and basically go back to square one and look at it, and then progress from there to try to make that claim and that veteran successful.
Yeah, I just really like the way that you describe the work that you guys do. It's really like you guys want nothing more than to just help people, which I think can be overlooked a lot of the times, especially when you connect that to like these really big systems like you're talking about with the VA network and things like that. So I want you to talk to me a little bit about the VSOs themselves, how valuable they are and like how passionate they are in the work that they do for the people that they work for.
Of course. Most of our veteran service officers are actually, they're all veterans. Most of them are retirees. Some of them are not. But the bottom line is they've all served. So they have been there and done that and bought that T-shirt, if you will. So, and that helps it helps a lot when you're communicating across the desk with somebody that they know that you've been there and done the same things that they have. That's what makes them passionate, because they've all been through like what I went through. We've all transitioned out of the military. We've all had those difficulties of, what do I do now that I'm out? I've been ingrained into this system for 4 years or 20 years or whatever that is. And then I don't really know how to get out and be a civilian again. Or I don't know how to transition and get the benefits that I'm eligible for. So that's really what we're trying to help them with. And so the veteran service officers that I have, and even the admin folks that I have, even though they may not be veterans, and they know that they're just helping somebody in their community to try to get benefits that they're eligible for, it just creates that passion of helping others. And that's what we're looking for when we hire people too. We want somebody that has the passion of helping others, and helping them to get where they need to be. Because the things that my veteran service officers do and my admin folks do and what we do every day is we change people's lives in a positive way. We may have somebody that has struggled for years and years getting through the VA system, or we might have somebody who's struggling financially or even struggling with healthcare issues because they don't know where they can go, and we help them to get enrolled in those benefits or apply for those benefits and get approved for that. And it makes a change in their life. You know, I'll just give an example. I had a veteran who had filed a claim for PTSD back in 2015. And the VA just kept denying it and denying it and denying it. And he was a Vietnam and a Gulf War vet. And so we just kept plugging away, and fighting with the VA, if you will. And back in 2022, he was finally granted his benefits at 100%. And he got a 6-figure retroactive pay because of that, plus his monthly compensation went up. And not only did that help him to get the benefits that he deserved for the service that he provided to our country, but it also will provide future benefits for his spouse once he passes away. So that's just an example of how what we do and how we can assist can change somebody's life for the positive. And so even with the medical things that this veteran has going on, his quality of life is going to be increased based on what we've been able to do until that day comes when he passes away or whatever. So, yeah. I mean, that's why we're passionate about what we do. It's just knowing that on a daily basis, we're making a difference in somebody's life. Yeah. And we're taking the bureaucracy of the Veterans Affairs, and we're fighting our way through that system, the laws and the red tape that is there every day. And we're the ones that are able to help fight through that and make the veteran or their family member successful and getting what they deserve. Yeah.
And one of the things I really like about that story that I think more broadly illustrates a lot of the work that your group does is, you know, it's not just about the money. Of course, the money is great. We've all got bills to pay. It's can be really helpful in a lot of different situations. But it's also about that recognition that they were actually there and like they were actually affected by a thing that happened. Last year, the PACT Act was a very big thing and something that you guys did claims clinic for. And one of the things that I learned about from that is previous to the PACT Act, a lot of people just were not able to get those benefits that they really deserved because there wasn't something in place for that. Because of the PACT Act, now that it was, and your team was able to help a lot of people with that. You guys had a what you call a claims clinic to help a lot of people with that. And I do want to get into that claims clinic side of things because, as I understand, you have a multi-day claims clinic coming up pretty soon. I think in November is what you had said. Can you explain what these clinics are and the value that they provide to the veteran community?
Yeah, of course. So in August of 2022, the PACT Act was signed into law by President Biden. This is something that we've advocated for a long time, and when I say we, I'm talking about the national service organizations, VFW, American Legion, DAV, and the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers. I'm fortunate enough as the director to be involved with that organization, and I get to go to Washington, D.C. and talk to our legislators about how important these laws are. That's an aspect of my job that I enjoy because I get to talk to the people that can make those decisions. So all that leading to the PACT Act being passed, what that created was it created acknowledgement of some different locations, like for Vietnam veterans that were exposed to Agent Orange. It added locations for them to say, yes, you were exposed to Agent Orange. Now you're eligible for these disabilities that were caused by Agent Orange. It added over 20 disabilities for Gulf War veterans that are like, we're going to acknowledge now that if you have one of these disabilities, it was more than likely caused by the burn pits and the exposures in the Gulf. And so what the PACT Act, why it was so important is because it actually just opened up the benefits that we've been basically arguing for years. Mm-hmm. And it was finally acknowledged that, yes, it's more likely than not that these are caused by your exposures to burn pits, to whatever's in the dirt, to the Agent Orange. And you know, if you were in Thailand as an example and you were on a military base that used Agent Orange around the perimeter, you were exposed. It took away the rules of you had to be within a certain distance or all of the bureaucracy that the VA creates. So the PACT Act was very, very significant in getting not just the veterans those benefits, but there's been veterans that have passed away for some of these disabilities, and their surviving spouses were denied survivors benefits because that disability wasn't on the list. Right. And so we've been able to not only help veterans get those benefits, but some surviving spouses as well. And so we did a 3-day, we actually, once it passed, we did a claims clinic every month in our office, tried to get as many people through there as we could just to make sure that we were getting those benefits applied for as quickly as we could, because the first year is what they called a presumptive year, meaning that if you filed within that first year, it was going to date back to the day that it was signed into law. So for that first year, we really focused on getting as many people through the system as we could. And we culminated that at the end of that 1 year. We did a 3-day claims clinic, and we did it by walk-ins. We didn't schedule appointments. And in 3 days, we saw about 1,200 veterans come through, which was very tasking. But we talk about partnerships. We partnered with all of those agencies I mentioned before. All of those directors were down on site every single day, helping at that level to do the claims and make sure things were going well. I mean, Mike Rohrbach, the director of the regional office, was out buying waters and snacks for the veterans out of his own pocket. That's the dedication that these folks have and that we have to try to support our veterans, because it's important. Yeah. And so after we did that and we've had some recovery time, we wanted to do another annual claims clinic. So this one will look a little bit different. We're going to do it by appointment. We're still working out some of those details, but we're going to do a 3-day clinic. We're going to focus on doing claims. We're going to try to get 150 appointments a day, and for those 3 days, the VBA is going to schedule compensation and pension exams. So that way they'll schedule people that are waiting to get exams done for claims to come through there at mobile trailers and get that stuff done. So it'll be a little bit different for PACT Act. It's not going to focus specifically on those issues. It's going to just be disabilities across the board, but we're going to try to do that again and hopefully have great success with that.
What are some of the learnings you've had from previous claims clinics, maybe like how it operated or how you guys approach it as a team, that you're able to improve those and make it a better experience for the veterans that are coming in?
The biggest thing that we learned was to make appointments, because, I mean, for the PACT Act, we really wanted to maximize the amount of people that could come through there. Mm-hmm. But that was very, very difficult for us to do. And what we wanted to do back then was we wanted to try to start a claim and get the compensation and pension exams done the same day. But the processes of the VA are not that quick. So we were able to do some, but not like we wanted to. So going back and working with the VA, we decided that it's better to just schedule comp and pen exams for those that are currently waiting for them, as opposed to trying to get people through the same day. And instead of just having people walk through the door, we want to have scheduled times so we can handle that workload and not get overwhelmed. That the first day that we did that walk-in, we had almost 500 people the first day. And it was very, very difficult, and it was hot, and people were getting upset. So we don't want to cause more stress and strife for people. We want to have people come in and have a good experience and not have to sit and wait for hours and things like that. So we're just going to kind of control that a little bit more and see how it works this time. Back in May, we did a claims clinic with the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers up in Denver at our national conference, and we kind of did it with this model that I'm talking about, where they scheduled appointments and scheduled comp and pen exams, and it was highly successful. So for the week that we were there, they saw over 800 people up in the Denver area doing comp and pen exams and claims. So it's not the 1,200 that we initially had, but I would rather do 800 or 500 and have those be a better quality and make sure that we're really focusing on taking care of everybody and not causing more stress and strain and doing it the right way, as opposed to trying to make a lot of people come through and causing more difficulties. So that's why we're trying to do it this way.
No, that sounds great. And I'm sure, we will be sending out more information as soon as more information is able when we get closer to November. So if anyone who's listening is interested in that, be sure to, keep an eye on the messaging that El Paso County is setting out so you can know when and where that's going to be taking place. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, when people come to you to, request help for service and, potentially getting additional benefits or, anything like that, I'd imagine not always does it go completely smoothly the first time around. I'm sure there are times when perhaps, their benefits get denied when they go through the process with you guys. Do you have anything in place to, I guess, follow up on some of those denied processes, those denied benefits? And if so, what does that look like?
Of course we do. Yeah. So when somebody comes to us, whether it's for their first initial claim or to come with us to work on a claim that may have been denied previously, a lot of times there's a lot of feelings in there because people are upset, angry because their VA claim got denied. And so first of all, what we want to do is look at the situation. We want to educate the veteran on how the system works. We may not always agree with how the system works, but we have to work within the federal laws. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing that we want to do. But once you become our client, we're going to follow your claim as long as you're here in our local community. So we do all of our representation through the state. So we represent the veteran. We're able to see their VA file. We're able to communicate with the VA. So we kind of have a little bit more of an inside track than some. But once you file your claim with us, we're going to work with you through the whole process. So as an example, if we do an initial claim for you and you have 10 contentions and 3 of them get denied and the other 7 are approved, we're able to take a look at that decision and determine, is there more that we can do? Is there something else that we haven't done? And sometimes we don't get everything done the first time around. So when we do that, we have the course of action where we could file for a relook at the claim with new evidence. If we think that the VA made an administrative error with the evidence we submitted, we can do a higher level review. And once we get through those steps, if it's still being denied, we can go all the way to the Board of Veteran Affairs. And the one thing that's unique about El Paso County compared to the rest of the state is that we actually have our own appeals specialist. And so that person is trained through our national organization to do appeals, and the only other person the only other agency in the state that has one is the state office. And so Jennifer Clark is our appeals specialist. She's been doing that for about a year and a half. In the last year, she's done 112 hearings with the Board of Veteran Appeals with a veterans law judge.
Wow.
In the cases that have come back with a decision, we've already gotten over $1 million in retroactive pay for the veterans that she's assisted, and an increase of about $80,000 overall on monthly increases. So she's very successful. She's done over, I think if I'm trying to remember the numbers.
Yeah, no, numbers are tricky. It's okay.
Yeah. I believe out of those 112 there's been 22 decisions that are finalized, and out of the 80 that have been somewhat decided, there's only been 6 denials of what she's claimed.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good track record. I would put her up against anybody in the nation, to be honest with you. And for the state of Colorado overall, she's done 42% of the Board of Veteran Appeals hearings for the entire state, because El Paso County has more veterans than everybody else. We're the largest veteran populated county. So, of course, she's handling that large percentage of those hearings. And, she's really good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so glad that, she was my office manager before, and she applied for that job because she was also a VSO, and she's awesome. So you can't, if it goes to that level where we have to go up to the law judge, she is highly trained to do that, and I can't say she's going to be 100% successful, because sometimes we're not. Sometimes, unfortunately, the answer is no from the VA, but we try to overcome that.
Yeah.
But she's really good at what she does. So, even if you start with this initially, we'll take you all the way through that process. The only time we wouldn't be able to do that is if you move away from Colorado.
Right. It's got to be reassuring to just know that you've got someone in your corner, right? Like sometimes that's all you need. So, I would imagine I'm not a veteran myself, so I feel like difficult trying to put myself in the shoes of people when I'm thinking about it. But just in general, knowing that someone is in your corner, probably one of the better people to have, by the way you describe it, in your corner. You guys are going to do everything possible to make sure that you've exhausted all options before you move on to a different tactic. I think we've talked about a lot of different services that your office provides, but I'm just wondering if there's anything that we may not have covered yet.
Yeah, like I said before, we primarily are working on the disability claims for compensation for veterans, but the other services that we can help with is we can help veterans get enrolled in the VA healthcare system. We can help get the pre-need forms done for the National Cemetery Administration. And what that means is that you fill out a form, we send it off to the National Cemetery Administration, and they basically put the veteran in, and the veteran's family members that want to be buried with them in the database. So what that does is that completes a step for them of when the veteran passes away or the spouse passes away, where they don't have to get all that information in the system. It's already there. So we do that. We also are helping with survivor benefits. So if a veteran passes away, for example, of a service-connected disability, the surviving spouse may qualify for dependent indemnity compensation. And so that's something that we try to make a priority for those, because generally when a veteran passes away, if they're a retiree or whatever, they lose a lot of income. Retirement stops, Social Security changes. So we want to try to make sure if that surviving spouse has all the documentation that they need, that we can get them in right away and try to get that paperwork filed. So those are important benefits. The other survivor's benefit is what we call a survivor's pension. That's an income-based program. We don't do a lot of those here because the income threshold on that is very low. So generally, if somebody's getting Social Security, they don't qualify for that unless there's out-of-pocket legal or medical expenses. But those are the types of things that we're going to look at, everything in the file. We're going to look at their finances. We're going to go through all of those things with them to make sure that if they qualify, we get those applications in.
Awesome. Well, we're getting to the end of the conversation here, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to add anything else that you think would be important for listeners to know.
Yeah, what I think is important is that our office, the folks that work for me, including myself, we're very passionate about helping people. We're there to help you help yourself. So if you need help and you're trying to file that claim, the best thing to do is just contact our office and just tell us what your situation is and let us take it from there. We're going to do everything we can to make you successful with the VA. And that's really the easy part, is just take a deep breath, because I know you're stressed out. Give us a call and let us try to go through that with you and take you through that process, because it's going to hopefully alleviate some of that. So And you can contact our office by calling 719-520-7750. That is our main office number. If you call that number, we can connect you with either our main office, which is on the east side of town, or we have, with our partnership with Mount Carmel, we have 3 veteran service officers that are at their location. But so if it's better for you to be on that side of town, on the west side, we'll get you connected with them. Or also you can contact us at our email address, which is vet@elpasoco.com.
Great. Well, thank you, Marshall. I appreciate you taking the time today and for all the work that not just you, but your whole team does for El Paso County and the veterans that are living here. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Scott, for having me.
If you're interested in listening to additional episodes of Beyond the Dais, be sure to look for us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.